What's up, everyone? On November 5th, the Virtual Telescope project dropped 2 new images that have turned the entire scientific community upside down. We're talking about Atlas, an interstellar object that's currently racing through our solar system, and what these images reveal is absolutely mind-blowing. Here's the thing that's got everyone freaking out. Atlas shows 0 signs of being a comet. No tail, no gas cloud, nothing. It just sits there like a compact source of light, completely clean and pristine. But here's where it gets wild. According to the math, this object should have already lost over 5 billion tons of material. 5 billion tons? That's not a typo. To put this in perspective, when scientists photographed Comet Lemon, a regular everyday comet in our solar system, they saw exactly what you'd expect. A bright, beautiful tail streaming away from the sun, formed by solar radiation pushing gas and dust into space. That's what comets do. That's what they've always done. But Atlas? It's sitting there with absolutely none of those visual signs. Harvard astrophysicist Loeb has been studying this thing intensively, and even he admits this makes no sense under our current understanding of physics. The images from July, when Hubble observed it, show virtually the same thing as these November images. The object hasn't changed. For something that should be shedding massive amounts of material, that's completely inexplicable. We're not talking about a small discrepancy here. We're talking about an object that defies the fundamental rules we've built our entire understanding of space on. And this brings us to a question that's making a lot of scientists extremely uncomfortable. What if Atlas isn't what we think it is? What if everything we're seeing points to something that doesn't fit into any natural category we've ever documented? The clock is ticking, because on December 19th, Atlas makes its closest approach to Earth. That's when we'll get our best look at this thing. And depending on what we find, or more importantly, what we don't find, we might be staring at the most significant discovery in human history. Before we dive deeper into this story, make sure you hit subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss the next video. Alright, back to it. Now let's talk about what's actually happening with Atlas's movement, because this is where things go from strange to absolutely unprecedented. On October 29th, as Atlas approached its closest point to the Sun, NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory detected something that shouldn't be possible. The object had deviated from its predicted orbit by 4 arcseconds. You might be thinking 4 arcseconds doesn't sound like much, but at a distance of 203 million kilometers from the Sun, this represents a massive error that caught scientists completely off guard. Atlas is accelerating at a rate of 0.2 millimeters per second squared. That might sound tiny, but the implications are enormous. This acceleration has pushed the object more than 80 kilometers off its predicted path in just 1 month. Think about that for a second. Something the size of a small mountain is being shoved off course by an invisible force. But here's what makes this truly bizarre. The acceleration isn't happening in just one direction. It's happening in 2 directions simultaneously. There's an outward push away from the Sun at a rate of 135 kilometers per square day. That's about 60 kilometers per month. And then there's a sideways push at 60 kilometers per square day, roughly 27 kilometers per month. Atlas is literally drifting in 2 directions at once, like something is steering it. With normal comets, we have a simple explanation called outgassing. When ice on the surface melts due to proximity to the Sun, it turns into steam and gets expelled like a natural jet engine. Problem solved, right? Not with Atlas. The amount of gas required to create the acceleration we're observing is absurdly large. We're talking about numbers that go far beyond what any normal comet would release. Loeb did the calculations, and they're shocking. Atlas weighs at least 33 billion tons, making it between 1,000 and 1,000,000 times heavier than the first 2 interstellar objects we ever discovered, Oumuamua and Borisov. Its core is estimated to be about 6 kilometers across. Given that mass and the acceleration we're seeing, here's what the math tells us. To generate this thrust through natural outgassing, Atlas would have to lose at least 1/6 of its total mass during the month around perihelion. That's a minimum of 5 billion tons of gas being expelled into space. 5 billion tons of gas would create a massive, extraordinarily bright cloud around the object. It would be almost impossible to miss with our telescopes. But guess what? There's no cloud, nothing. The object remains mysteriously clean. This is where the scientific method hits a wall, and researchers are being forced to consider possibilities they never wanted to entertain. Let's break down exactly why Atlas is unlike anything we've ever seen. Because when you line up all the anomalies, the picture that emerges is deeply unsettling. First, there's what scientists are calling the impossible path. Atlas travels on an orbit that's tilted just 5 degrees to the ecliptic plane. That's the flat plane where all our planets orbit the sun. An object coming from another star system could approach from literally any direction in three-dimensional space. The odds of it just happening to align almost perfectly with our planetary plane? 0.001%. That's like throwing a dart blindfolded and hitting a bullseye from across a football field. Some researchers are quietly suggesting this incredibly precise orbit could indicate purposeful navigation. Then there's the physics-defying jet. In July and August, Atlas did something that broke every rule in the book. It produced a jet of material that shot straight toward the sun. Every single comet ever observed has tails pointing away from the sun because of radiation pressure. This is basic physics. What Atlas did is like watching someone run with their hair blowing forward instead of backward. It's not just unusual, it's impossible under natural conditions. The size and speed paradox is equally baffling. Atlas is 1,000,000 times more massive than Oumuamua, and 1,000 times more massive than Borisov, yet it's moving faster than both of them. In astrophysics, bigger objects move slower when influenced by gravity. Atlas completely violates this rule. Under normal conditions, a celestial body with a mass of tens of billions of tons shouldn't be able to achieve speeds faster than tiny comets. The composition is another red flag. Spectroscopic analysis revealed that Atlas contains more nickel than iron, a ratio that's common in manufactured alloys like Inconel or high-temperature aerospace materials used in jet engines and spacecraft. Natural comets have random mixtures of metals and minerals. Atlas has what looks like a refined, purposefully manufactured metallic structure. And get this, Atlas is only 4% water. Comets are supposed to be dirty snowballs, typically 80 to 90% water ice. This thing is drier than the Sahara Desert. Infrared analysis found no signs of water vapor despite its close approach to the sun. Some scientists think its surface might be covered in a refractory ceramic or composite layer that prevents evaporation. If that's confirmed, we're looking at an artificial shell, something never before seen on any natural object. The polarized light pattern Atlas emits has never been recorded from any natural celestial body, including Borisov. Polarization is basically the fingerprint of light, and Atlas's fingerprint doesn't match anything in our database. The pattern resembles light reflected from a metallic surface or a flat structure with defined angles of reflection, completely unlike the rough, irregular surfaces of natural space rocks. But here's where it gets really weird. Atlas appears to be hotter than the sun. Its brilliant blue color suggests it's emitting energy at temperatures exceeding 5,800 Kelvin, which is the surface temperature of our sun. For a non-stellar object to reach those energy levels is physically impossible unless there's some form of advanced technology we don't understand generating that heat. And then there's the connection that's making SETI researchers lose sleep. Atlas came from almost the exact same cosmic coordinates as the famous WOW signal, that mysterious radio transmission detected in 1977 that's never been explained. Both originated near the constellation Sagittarius. The probability of this being a coincidence is extremely low, but it's too precise to dismiss. Some researchers believe Atlas could be related to the origin of that signal, or it might even be an intermediate relay station operating in cycles spanning decades. There's also the timing issue. Atlas coincidentally passed by Mars, Venus, and Jupiter, but it avoided Earth during perihelion, the exact moment when it should have been brightest and easiest to observe. This timing is statistically rarer than winning the lottery. Many experts suspect this isn't random chance, but rather a pre-calculated route, like a probe deliberately choosing a flight path to collect data about the major planets while maintaining distance from Earth. It's as if something is mapping our solar system's gravitational and electromagnetic fields for technological exploration. If even half of these anomalies hold up under scrutiny, Atlas isn't a comet. It's something else entirely. Something that operates under principles we haven't discovered yet, or perhaps principles that weren't developed on Earth. So here we are, racing toward December 19th, and the scientific community is holding its breath. From late November through January, Dozens of ground-based telescopes, along with the Hubble Space Telescope and the James Webb Space Telescope, are going to be locked onto Atlas. When it makes its closest approach to Earth at 167 million miles, we'll get our best possible look at this object. The question everyone's asking is simple but terrifying. Where's the gas cloud? If Atlas really accelerated naturally through outgassing, there has to be a massive cloud of expelled material surrounding it. 5 billion tons of gas doesn't just disappear. It would create an unmistakable signature that every telescope on Earth and in orbit would detect. But if December 19th comes and goes, and there's still no gas cloud, then the natural explanation completely falls apart. We'd be left with only one possibility that fits the data. Atlas is not natural. We could be looking at direct evidence of technology that doesn't belong to Earth, a propulsion system operating outside every known law of physics. Some scientists are speculating that Atlas might be concealing sophisticated observation or communication mechanisms that operate on frequency bands humans can't detect. There's even a theory spreading in research circles called the mirror galaxy effect. According to this idea, every time a civilization reaches the nuclear power threshold, an observation device gets activated from interstellar space to assess whether that civilization poses a threat to the broader universe. Atlas, according to this theory, might be that device. A silent gatekeeper, watching us, evaluating us. More daring predictions suggest that on December 19th, Atlas might emit a synchronization signal, not for us, but for somewhere else. A confirmation that Earth has been cataloged, or maybe just another step in an ancient civilization's millennia-long exploration program. Right now, Atlas remains silent, hurtling through space at an inexplicable rate of acceleration. But if the technological hypothesis is correct, then every time we look up at the night sky, we're not just observing a distant object, we're being observed back. We might be the subjects of someone else's research. The countdown has begun, and in just a few weeks, we'll know if humanity is truly alone or if we're currently witnessing the first confirmed visitor from beyond our solar system. December 19th could become the greatest turning point in human history, the moment we realized we're not the only intelligence looking up at the stars.